your swing time is about 1,000 milliseconds, so about 1 second. But I want you to speed up the backswing a bit more.
Okay.
So make it a bit faster backswing.
Okay.
You can go to maybe 900 milliseconds or a bit shorter than that.
Okay.
The clear speed on the average is about 114.7, close to 115. This is elite men's average, which is about 111,
Okay.
including tour players, college players, and then some teaching professionals. So you are generating more than average. The speed is actually good. And then even for your height, still you're generating more speed than the average.
Okay.
Now, one thing interesting here is if you look at this carefully here, 3 and 4 are actually together. 3 is when the lead arm is parallel to the ground on the way back.
Okay.
4 is when the club is vertical.
Okay.
But usually we see the separation between the two. So lead arm becomes parallel to the ground, and then the club becomes vertical
Okay.
in the frontal view.
Okay.
But it's happening at the same time here.
Yep.
That means you tend to have a bit early wrist cut.
Yep.
Is there anything wrong with that, or that's just a pattern?
Generally, I recommend against it. So
Okay.
separate this.
I
When,
worked on that for
To
4
get that, I
4 years
guarantee
with
you
Scott,
did.
yeah.
Yes.
You get the club parallel, get the club vertical, and the left arm parallel.
so what happens is when you use wrist early, then generally you tend to use the wrist early.
On the downswing.
When you start the backswing with the body motion, that you tend to start the downswing with the body motion.
That makes sense.
When you use the arms in the backswing, that you tend to use the arms more. So generally, unless you intentionally change things, then depending on how you start the backswing, your downswing is pretty much determined.
Okay.
So it's better to delay the wrist cock in the backswing. So have the feel of just reaching out a bit more.
Okay.
And then, particularly when you speed up the backswing, simply just let it go around instead of trying to manipulate and lift.
Yeah. Just let the weight of the club just kind of carry to the set.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So using the momentum, you just let it go around. So, and then another interesting thing is if you look at the shape of the curve, so this shows the clear speed during the backswing. It shows some noises here because we didn't filter the data to calculate the clear speed accurately. But normally it should be smooth.
Okay.
And then your peak occurs about here, right?
Yep.
So it's so from here to here, this is backswing, and then if you draw a vertical line right at the center here, you'll be able to draw the line here.
Okay.
This peak occurs on the right side of that line,
Okay.
which is good.
Okay.
So in other words, you're building speed gradually and then reach peak speed a bit later.
Okay.
So
Would you like to see it a little bit sooner?
no,
Like the climb?
a bit more later.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
so when this happens, you can really build the climax toward the end of the backswing.
Gotcha.
So with that, you're going into downswing. So the backswing downswing will be better connected.
Gotcha.
But a lot of people, they have early quick body turn. With that, the peak speed occurs right in the middle here.
Okay.
That means the body has early quick spinning motion, and then you have slow motion here.
So Dr. Quine, if the body turns fast, the club ends up inside, right?
So if you just let the body spin, it depends on how you move.
There's a lift in there somewhere, right?
It depends on how you move.
Okay.
So imagine you have a spine axis here, and then the pelvis is also inclined forward, so it's fairly aligned along the spine axis here. And then when you turn the trunk about the spine axis, then turn goes this way here, the hand goes a bit higher here. But if you spin about the vertical axis, when the body goes this way here, it goes flat here.
And how many people have you seen teach that?
So a lot of people tend to show spinning motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's
then
my problem.
from the beginning, you have this
Most good
flipping.
players kind of feel like, I feel more laterally than I do rotation.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you
that's
said,
better.
my
That's
swing.
better. Yeah. When you have an early quick body turn here, spin, then the club head goes flat. Then it causes a lot of trouble because when you go flat, you have to lift this up. Most amateur players show this pattern. Then, in order to lift this up, you have to lift the elbow then automatically the club goes to a crossover alignment.
That makes sense.
When the club is in the crossover alignment, then on the way down, you have to compensate that. So the hand tends to go inward quite a bit to throw the club head more toward the target. So it just dictates what happens in the downswing. So it is important to have a high enough pad. Actually, you can go a bit higher.
Okay, I can go a bit higher.
Yeah, later I will mention that.
Well,
but
that'll kind of happen naturally with a little bit more speed, right?
So when you go a bit steeper here, then it's easier to drop it. But if you go flat, you have to lift it up and then try to drop it. It's more difficult. So what happens is you go flat and lift, and then find a really steep swing plane. That's what we typically see in the amateur players.
Are we looking at his driver or an iron?
Driver.
Driver. What's his swing plane? We'll get there later.
So this line actually shows swing plane, but we'll get there. So in terms of how you generate the club speed in the backswing, this is good. All you do is just speed up the backswing a bit more. Okay, and then this is the top view. And this large rectangle is the swing plane, calculated from the club head motion.
Okay.
It's fairly aligned toward the target here. So this is actually perfect.
You said you were zeroed.
Slightly right side, because in the driver swing, you tend to hit up a little bit. So you need to align this slightly right side. This smaller rectangle is the hand motion plane. So this is calculated from the hand motion here.
Okay.
And it's also, again, aligned toward the target.
Okay.
So these are maintain almost the parallel alignment, and they are mainly pointing along the target line here,
Okay.
which is good.
Okay.
So this makes your swing motion really simple.
Okay.
So in terms of direction here, on the average, the swing plane is 0.5 degrees outward.
Okay.
And the motion plane is 0.8 degrees outward here. So pretty much they are aligned, parallel to each other.
No wonder it looks so good.
And then this is when we align everything along the swing plane.
Okay.
So this straight line is the swing plane here.
Okay.
Then initially the club head moves along the swing plane, which is good. And then it's going above, and you have a simple looping motion here. So then always the club head tends to stay above the swing plane. But in the follow through, you have tendency of slightly going below the swing plane here, in the follow through here.
I've seen that.
So you see, that's why this deviation is small here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is that crucial, or is that just
For his swing pattern, it's not a problem.
Okay.
But some people they show severe spiral swing pattern. This pattern is called a spiral swing. So you have a positive deviation at the top of backswing here, and then coming down here, and then during the follow through, the club head goes slightly below the swing plane.
Okay.
But in your case, it's not too bad.
Okay.
And then the slope of the swing plane is 49 degrees. This is about 2 degrees steeper than typical
Steeper?
for your body height. So if we can bring this down a little bit here, so passing through maybe this point, it'll be perfect. But
Okay.
and so as a result, what happens is, so your swing plane is 49 degrees, the slope is 49 degrees. Your hand motion plane slope is about 54 degrees. So you have a 5-degree difference.
Okay.
So
Is that
if
good or bad?
this difference is on the average about 9 degrees.
Okay.
So it's a bit smaller. It's because your swing plane is a bit stiffer, maybe about 2 degrees stiffer.
Is that why I hit it in the toe when I miss it? A lot of times I miss it in the toe a little bit.
So it depends on how you're moving the club in the downswing.
Okay.
You have a tendency of dropping this and then push the hand out.
And that would make it steeper?
Swing plane is not too bad.
Okay.
It's not too bad,
Okay.
but it's a still somewhat arm-driven swing
Okay.
on the way down. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Where does a toe shot come from, though, Don?
Toe shot, if your body moves inward, so as you turn, your body is moving this way, that you can have you have a tendency
So
of
you're
toe
just
shot.
literally pulling it.
Yeah. because you're moving the club toward your body.
Gosh, I never feel that.
So sometimes when people have too active body motion toward the end of the downswing, then you try to push hard, and then actually your body is moving in the backward direction here. So then it will pull the club, so you have tendency to toe shots.
I've always thought it was standing up.
So standing up is one possible reason.
Yeah.
Okay, either your whole body is moving backward, or you're standing up and you are lifting your upper body.
Yeah, because I felt like, the mass of that club head going out, and I'm trying to resist it, and for some reason, this pattern tries to go back
So,
to resist that
and then
momentum.
common reason why people have extend the body is because sometimes you just pull this down, and then your body goes up here and then pull. But if you have the feel of turning around the body and then throw, then you will be able to let the club head go instead of having too rigorous
Did you see any of that
body
with
motion.
JT?
In his case, he's
There's no backing up there?
the spine axis is fairly well maintained here, even in the follow through here.
Did you feel like you hit any of those in the toe?
No, those were fine. Just sometimes in action, if I miss it, it's usually a little more towards the toe.
And also, when you have a toe shot, then sometimes it's because the hands are leading the club a bit too much. So the club head is falling behind, and when your hands are reaching out too much here, it also pulls the club.
That's what I do.
And then when you let the club head go too early, then you have a fat shot. But when your hands are leading the club too much, then you have a thin shot. Sometimes you have a toe shot. So
That makes sense.
so if we can, flatten the swing plane maybe by 2 degrees, then it'll be perfect.
Okay.
So when you have faster motion, faster backswing, just throw, and then
Do you think it'll just do it on its own with the?
you can easily do this. And then when you have the faster backswing, with that, let it go, and then you're dropping here. So then during the transition phase, you will be able to have a good shallowing here. So here already, the club head is staying a bit closer than your hands to the swing plane here.
Take it over back.
So this is slight layoff
I've always
here.
been that way a little bit.
Of course, love JT. He's a good man.
So here at this is the end of pelvis rotation. When the pelvis rotation is completed,
Okay.
about here the club becomes parallel to the swing plane,
Okay.
and then this is top of action here. Already the club head is a bit closer to the swing plane than your hands.
That's what I've always looked
So you can delay this a little bit.
Okay.
So even at the top of action, either it's a parallel or slightly crossover.
Okay.
As long as you have good looping here, this is okay. But if you drop this too early, then you can have something called early uncocking followed by recocking pattern here. So later we will see that. But actually, let's take a look at the.
So did you, sorry. Did you say you're a fan of slightly crossover pattern?
So when the club head is continuously moving toward the swing plane, then at the top of action, having slight crossover alignment, this is okay.
And that would be that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but not too much, not too much. Yeah.
Okay.
So when you time this correctly here, then by the time you reach the top of action, you don't have to go already to the layoff position. Okay. So this pink line is the wrist angular velocity.
Okay.
It shows a slight positive value and going negative here. So when it goes positive, it means uncocking.
Okay.
Early.
So during the backswing, you have a cocking here,
Cocking it early,
but
yeah.
then around the end of pelvis rotation, you are going into slight uncocking,
Okay.
and then cocking again. So this is called recocking.
So I got.
So that's in this area?
Yeah, this.
Capricorn? Somewhere.
No. It's before the top of
Before that.
action.
Okay.
So it's end of pelvis rotation, before the top of action. You already start slight uncocking. This is because you are dropping it a bit too much.
Okay.
So when you drop the club head down here, it's not coming this way, but rather it's more going this way.
Gotcha.
So it gives a little bit of uncocking effect
Okay.
when you try to drop this a bit too much.
Is that does that cost speed?
Not in this case, because he has good recocking here,
Okay.
and then well delayed release here. But this is probably coming from you're dropping the cleaver a bit too much at the top of action.
Okay.
So
That makes sense, because then I gotta recock it to shallow it.
yeah. So as long as the cleaver goes away from the swing plane and then continues coming down toward the swing plane, then no need to introduce the layoff position early,
Okay.
because eventually it will come down.
Gotcha.
So later I will show you the pattern of Grant weight.
Okay.
Then you will see a slight different pattern there.
See a perfect swing.
In general, the swing motion is fairly similar. However, you will see some differences, subtle differences here. So
Is that would that mess with his rhythm? No?
in his case,
It'll help.
when you try to increase the backswing speed, then it'll automatically change. When you have enough time, you can drop this.
Yeah, like whenever I've tried to speed it up, I feel like I had more time up here to hang out and then gather and then go.
Yeah. So when you have a faster motion, then you don't have to have a lot of time intentionally try to drop this. Just follow natural shadowing pattern here. Then what happens is the cleaver head will quickly move down toward the swing plane here.
Okay.
But still, in this case, this is the downswing cleaver pad here. It's fairly symmetric about this line here. That means that here you have a little bit of arm-driven motion.
Okay.
Then this cleaver pad looks like it's symmetric. It is gradually coming down toward the swing plane here, instead of quickly coming down here.
Which you prefer?
It's better to have asymmetric pad here, and then the cleaver quickly coming down toward the swing plane. Then you have more active, continuous shallowing here instead of finishing this early, and then because of the uncocking effect here, and you're pulling this down here.
Okay.
So by where in the downswing would you want the club head back on the plane, on the functional swing plane?
About here, when you come down about here, this is already should be fairly close to the swing plane here, when you have good shallowing pattern here. But in your case, still the cleaver is above the swing plane, so it's gradually coming down. That means you have arm dominance here to a certain extent.
So that kind of introduces a club face pull or a club face push.
You can pull and then
I can go
push.
or I can hold and kind of have
That's
a
interesting.
two-way miss. It's not but I like hit it way too straight, and then if the club face is a little off, I hit like a 10-yard going pull or just like a weak right, and they look like the exact same swing.
And the good news is that if you increase the backswing speed, direction control becomes more consistent.
Boy, have I seen
Very
that.
cool.
What do you think why do you think that is?
Different reasons, but it could be the sensory,
Just rhythm?
organization. So what happens is when you feel where your body is in the backswing here, you have better sense of direction. For example, when you ball, and then bring this really big, high up here, and then throw, right? Then you can generate speed using this large backswing motion. And also with this, you keep getting all the sensory input, so you know where the hands are, where your right hand is. And then you have better sense. You are connecting this point and the target, and then you have better direction control. But if the backswing is slow, so imagine this, you're casting a fishing pole. So try to throw the hook to that spot. You know that there are big fish over there, so you need to throw that. If you want to control, you have to bring this and throw. You maintain the tension in the string, right?
Yeah, fly ride.
But if you just try to throw this way, depending on timing of the pole motion, the response will be different. When you rapidly pull this, then it will respond, early. But if it's not fast enough, then it doesn't pick up speed early. So it's hard to control. when you have this motion here and the rotor, you have good tension already developed in the string, so you can easily control the motion and the throw. So these things are all happening in the backswing.
Okay.
So, but generally, shape-wise, your swing motion is really simple, which is good. But you know, we have some minor issues that you can improve.
Cool.
And then the center of mass motion here. This is the whole body center of mass motion.
I look forward to seeing this.
This is a.
Scott.
No, this is like,
So you see this red dot here.
Yeah.
This shows the center of mass motion. This is perfectly normal.
okay, cool.
This is the pattern I want to see.
Okay.
So initially your center of mass is moving away, and then going up here, and then reach the high point. Yeah, when 5 means the end of pelvis rotation. So when the pelvis rotation is completed, your center of mass is at the high position here.
Okay.
And after that, this diagonal downward motion here, all the way to here. Now 8 is when the club is aligned vertically.
Okay.
There you reach the low point here.
Okay.
The timing is also perfect.
Okay.
And also you are dropping the center of mass more than the initial position here, which is also good.
Okay.
And with that, from here, your center of mass is moving up and going to the impact position 10 here.
Okay.
This pattern is perfect.
Okay, cool.
And then your pelvis motion also goes slightly away and then coming down and moving toward and then going up here.
So now, even though you think his backswing is slower than it should be, that would indicate he's using the ground well, he's just not using it quickly.
You will see that his ground reaction force pattern is also pretty good.
And
So,
so speeding it up is going to do what to this pattern? Anything?
Just maintain this, but it will improve the connection between the backswing and downswing. And it will
So this
affect
pattern may
your
not
shallowing
change.
pattern slightly. No, this won't change.
It won't change.
Because he has his rhythm, swing rhythm. It's just a matter of making the backswing a bit faster.
Okay.
And then later, when we look at the kinematic sequence, then there's something you need to work on in terms of the transition sequence. It's coming from this motion here. So, but judging from the center of mass motion pattern and then pelvis center of mass motion pattern here, these are actually really good.
Wow.
These are in shape. These are quite similar to that of Grant Waite.
Cool. Good stripes.
And here's the pelvis motion. This is the rotational motion. This is the translational motion here. Rotational motion, the red line is this rotation here.
Okay.
So you're rotating right, and then rotating left here, and this is the impact here.
Okay.
And these lines are elite man's average maximum,
Okay.
and quite close. You're actually turning a bit more than that.
Okay.
But both ways, so this value here is about negative 45 or about negative 50. And this one is positive 50 here. So these are well balanced here.
Okay.
So in terms of this rotation, you are not rotating this way too much or not rotating this way too much.
Okay.
You have a similar rotation in the backswing and also toward the impact position here.
And it's at the right timing.
So this is why your swing plane and the hand motion plane are more aligned toward the target.
Okay.
So this is well balanced here. And then the only thing is that I want to see this blue line is a lateral tilt here.
Okay.
I want to see a bit more lateral tilt.
That's
So
something I like.
this can go
Such
down
hard
a little
time
bit.
doing.
Really?
I need you to help me do that, to figure out how to do it, because I've always just like, I've never had the downhill kind of pitcher's mound.
So what happens is in order to increase the lateral tilt here a bit more, then you have to support this side well and then drop this side.
Okay.
When you have an active backswing, with faster backswing, then you have to push the ground a bit harder with the trail leg.
Okay.
Then I think you can increase this
Think you'll
angle.
do it without me having to.
Currently,
About
don't
it.
So the
currently
left
don't try to
hip
change
goes
anything.
Lower. That's the tilt we're talking about?
Yeah.
The right hip's up and back?
Yeah. So
and
during the
left
backswing, right side is higher,
Yeah.
left side is lower. So it's just a left tilt. So left
And
tilt.
that's the angle, that's the tilt you're talking about.
Yeah, this is lateral tilt,
Okay.
left tilt. And
And
then
I've always been like too low from the, like Scott Hamilton's my main guy. He's always like, man, let's try to get a little bit more tilt in your pelvis. And I'm like, I just can't do it. And I'm not going to artificially do it because it's not natural.
is if you just speed up the backswing a little bit and then push a bit harder, then automatically this goes high.
Cool.
How detrimental is that in the swing that he doesn't have it?
Currently his pelvis motion pattern is pretty good.
Okay, so it's not killing him. It's
So,
just,
but in order to increase the dynamics, I want to see a bit more lateral tilt here.
and you think it'll come natural, speeding up and creating more right side push.
Sometimes it's as simple as speeding up the backswing a bit.
Cool.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Then it'll automatically adjust things.
Yeah.
And also affect the timing and then everything. And then this green line is this motion here.
Okay.
So initially it's moving slightly backward, rotating backward, and then forward and backward again. So from here to here is backward tilt. From here to here is a forward tilt.
Do I need to think about that?
And then
Is that
from
okay?
here to here is a backward tilt. Now the pattern is okay, good. It's not crossing this line. That means you are not shifting the pelvis too much in the backward direction. A lot of cases, people try to move the,
Especially the early extenders who've been trying to have that beat out of them.
and then this motion, oftentimes when you move backward too much, and then the pelvis goes more forward tilt.
Okay.
And then when you have too much forward tilt, then that means the hip is sliding backward.
Okay.
That you cannot use the legs that way.
Okay.
Because your hip is moving away from the foot.
But are those okay? Are those within?
This forward backward tilt is okay.
Okay.
But the forward backward motion of the pelvic center mass can be improved here.
Okay.
So now this one shows the translational motion. And then the blue line is up and down motion. Again, you maintain this up to this point, and then it's gradually going down and going up. At impact, your pelvic center mass stays higher than the initial position. This is good. The green line is the toward away motion.
Okay.
So initially it's moving away, so you have away shift. And then it's coming back to initial position.
Okay.
This is called the recentering.
Okay.
So you have shift away and then recentering. This completes around the end of pelvic rotation here. Then it keeps moving toward the target, which is also good.
Okay.
The only thing is that this red line shows a forward-backward motion.
Okay.
It's initially moving forward, and then here it's moving backward a bit more than
So that's
I
his
like.
center of mass going this way,
the,
and then
the
back
pel-
this way?
pelvis center mass. Yeah. So moving forward up to this point,
So where is
backward
that
and forward.
in his swing?
You can see that this peak occurs about here.
And that's in the backswing, isn't it? Yeah.
But actually, this should be when the pelvis is, having the most forward motion.
Okay.
So the peak has to occur about here.
Okay.
When you delay this, the peak occurs about here, and then it comes backward, and then going forward again. So it never crosses this line.
So he's coming forward and then
Slight-
sitting
No.
back at?
No.
No?
It's just when the pelvis turns, automatically the center mass moves forward. Because what happens is that when you turn, the hip goes backward, the right hip goes backward, left hip goes forward, right?
Yeah.
When you rotate. But because the right side is supporting your body, a lot of force is acting on the right side. So typically, the right hip is not moving backward as much as the left hip moving forward.
Got it.
So when you use the ground actively and then pelvis turns, then pelvis center of mass has to move forward.
So it really should never move back. Like, so you should never really.
That's what I'm trying to picture, Jim.
Just to have a good, no intentional backward motion.
Yeah. So no intent of backwards.
Just to try to support your body well with the right leg in the backswing.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And then in the downswing, you're supporting the body with your lead leg here. So when you have active interaction with the ground like this, is using stepping like action here, then this does not cross the initial position here.
Okay. Gotcha.
So
But again, he shouldn't necessarily force this. He should just force the dynamics.
no. So Only thing is you are initiating the forward motion a bit early, but if you wait until the pelvis rotation is completed. But for that, again, when you speed up the backswing, this can be fixed to a certain extent automatically. Yeah. So the speed is an interesting thing. The backswing speed is an interesting remedy. It could be almost like a panacea. So you can cure many different diseases.
Yeah, that's cool.
With just one
That's what I
one
love
dose
about
of
it.
the medicine.
I watched Rory hit a lot of balls when I was caddying for Brendan, and he goes so fast on the way back. It's like he's trying to smash it from when the ball.
You see, so the first generation of computer game was breaking blocks. You have the blocks here, and then a ball is moving, and then hit it, and then break it, and coming back. You are moving the pedal, and they hit the ball, and they hit the ball, and they will come back.
Yeah.
That was the first generation computer game. And when I was using it, something immediately occurred to me was, this is interesting. The human body moves the best when the ball has a reasonable speed here. If it's too slow, when the ball is moving too slow, then you have too much time here.
Yeah.
So you can use different strategies. So you hit the ball and then wait until the ball returns and then quickly move here and then hit.
Yeah.
After watching the ball path, and then finally you move and hit. Or from this motion, you can predict the path and already move there and wait. And then when it starts coming back, and you can have a little bit adjustment and hit the ball. So you have different strategies.
Yeah.
But when the ball motion is reasonably fast, then you don't have much room here. So move and hit the ball, hit the ball, hit the ball, hit the ball. So this motion, you have a nice acceleration, deceleration, and then hit. And acceleration, deceleration, and hit. So you have really nice acceleration, deceleration pattern of the pedal motion. But if it's too fast, then what happens is you cannot really follow that because you don't have enough time. So there is the concept of optimal speed.
Yeah.
When you move with the optimal speed, then the acceleration deceleration pattern becomes smooth, but it generates a lot of speed, right? So
And accuracy.
and actually you don't have to worry about this. If the ball comes with the hit. You don't need to even think about this because you're just responding and then hit the ball. I wish the ball speed stays, with that. But as you hit, it gets faster, and then later you cannot really follow. Yeah, but there's something, the concept of optimal speed. So when you use the optimal speed in the backswing, for example, it gives a good connection to the downswing. The acceleration, deceleration pattern is perfect because you don't have any unnecessary time. So you get rid of all the unnecessary components and then just stick to the main motion. This naturally happens.
So in a full swing of a second, 1,000 milliseconds, how much of that time should be to the top of clubhead stopping motion?
So you have generally about, on the average, 3-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
Backswing 3 and downswing 1. But I promote something like a 2.8, 2.7 to 1. So you have to speed up the backswing a bit more. And then in the transition phase, you will use about 100 milliseconds if your transition phase is well elongated. So the backswing can be, say, about 650 milliseconds. Your downswing is close to 250 milliseconds. And then in that 650 milliseconds, you have about close to 100 milliseconds in the transition phase. That means most of the backswing should use about 550 milliseconds. About half a second, slight over half a second is for the actual motion.
JT?
Yeah.
So you can clock your swing. Yeah. I do it all the time.
So what you can do is you can use a metronome and then just give the total swing time, and you repeat the motion. Tick, 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 or some sort of audio input.
Yeah.
And with that, you can train it. But I think
It's so hard.
at your level, as long as you just try to have a bit faster backswing, then automatically it will
I agree.
it'll solve. So
I don't think
yeah.
it's something to think
So
about other than just being a-
when you speed up backswing a little bit, then the rhythm improves. Then the connection between the backswing and the downswing improves automatically. And then you will cut off all the unnecessary movements.
Okay.
So your swing motion is already quite simple.
It's a beautiful thing, dude.
Yeah, it's quite unusual to see a pattern like this.
Thank
I was a bit surprised. When you were hitting the ball was coming back. A lot of people, the ball goes to this side and then it's bouncing off this way here.
Yeah.
Because they have into-out pad and things like that. But I noticed, the ball is even in the wedge
Hit you a
conditions.
couple times.
The ball is coming back. So I expected a good alignment of
So
the
if he
planes.
speeds up his backswing, if he's at 1,000 milliseconds now from start of backswing to impact,
About go for about 900 or 850.
so
I'm not
shorten
gonna
the
think
whole
about-
thing.
I'm not gonna think
I
about
know
any
you're
of
not.
these
I know you're not. I'm just curious.
So as long as you introduce a little bit of a trigger motion and then have just the feel of a faster backswing, it'll solve everything.
Man,
so,
I would love to see this after you do that.
Yeah. So in that case, the pelvis motion also, this forward backward motion will also improve, because when say you're going from here to here, and then when you have too much time, then you go like this.
Yeah.
Human body motion also is like that. When you walk, the elderly people, they have really slow walk, then they have a lot of lateral motion. But if you have to go really fast, then you get rid of a lot of lateral motion, then just to go straight. So the same thing, when you speed up the motion, and then you connect this really well, then you cut off all the unnecessary movement going in the perpendicular direction. So it makes the motion a lot simpler. So the pelvic mesh overall is quite good and normal. So you don't need to change the way you move your body. Okay?
Put me up here, I'd have to change everything.
And then this is the X factor pattern here. X factor means the separation between the hips and shoulders here.
Okay.
So it's a 0 here, about here, the blue line here, because these two lines are pretty much parallel to each other.
Okay.
But then as the shoulder turns more and more, now it shows X shape here, so the angle increases.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then this is top of backswing. This is top of backswing.
Okay.
And your X factor increases more to this one here. It's because you have the initial pelvis motion toward the target here.
Okay.
But generally, I don't want to see this increase here. This is called the downswing stretch. The increase between the endopelvic rotation and top of backswing, this is called the backswing stretch.
Okay.
And then from here to maximum is called the downswing stretch. But
Okay.
I want to see a small downswing stretch. However, the reason why you have this is because your top of backswing occurs a bit earlier.
Gotcha.
Remember, you
Yeah.
try to uncock the
Yeah.
wrist a bit early because of this layoff motion here. Because if this is happening a bit earlier, but if it's delayed, this is delayed to this point here, then suddenly it becomes perfectly normal here.
So he's creating more stretch in the downswing.
I think it's not a matter of,
Not that it matters, but
I think it's a more matter of the upper body going a bit early, the arms, the club going a bit early.
Gotcha.
And so if you delay the top of backswing, this goes here, then you have a less downswing stretch here.
Gotcha.
So it's a matter of a timing of the top of backswing.
Okay.
And in the kinematic sequence pattern here, again, we see a tendency of early uncocking here. Because of this, you have a bit early onset of a top of backswing. That's why we see this one here. But if this is delayed here, then it will be perfectly normal here.
Gotcha.
So again, no need to do anything about the body motion. When you have a bit faster backswing, then this will be also solved. Because when you have faster motion, the club moves a bit faster. But because of the momentum, you have to let it go. you cannot rush down.
So so the X factor will already be established, and
So-
then I won't increase it.
Yeah, the separation between the shoulders and the hips are perfectly okay here.
Okay.
It's a close, it's slide over elite man's average maximum.
Okay.
However, the timing, this timing, this is a bit early.
Gotcha.
Early onset of top of action because you have tendency of that, wrist layoff issue here. But if the top of action is delayed, then it becomes perfectly normal here. So that's what I
It'll
see
probably
here.
feel a little more in sync too.
Oh, man, I bet.
And then this is the kinematic sequence pattern here.
Okay.
And then during the backswing, the timing of the peaks here. So the red line is the pelvis.
Okay.
This is happening pretty much midway in the backswing here, which is good. Timing is good. The thorax and the shoulders all happening here. The arms reach peak here, and then the club reaches peak here.
Okay.
But because you have early wrist cock here, this is happening almost at the same time to the arm angular peak here.
Okay.
But what if you just reach out a bit more, and then later you are introducing the wrist cock,
Okay.
then this will be delayed here.
Okay.
So it'll be even better.
Okay.
So instead of trying to introduce the wrist cock early, just let it go around and then develop the wrist cock toward the end of the backswing.
Okay.
So when that happens, because of the momentum toward the end of the backswing, the club keeps going. This will, delay this motion here.
Gotcha.
So the timing of the top of action will be adjusted
Okay.
with that. So the benefit of a bit faster backswing is this peak occurs later.
Okay.
Then from here to a downswing here, you have a continuous transition.
Okay.
Go here and then build the tension here, and with that coming down and then let it go.
Okay.
Then you can actually use the wrist a bit better
Okay.
with that.
You think your injury affected that at all?
I think a lot of what I do
Does he hurt
is
his
like with my right wrist. I don't really have the.
Flexibility in it?
Yeah, I don't have the range of motion, so I definitely have created a way to
And also part of the reason you lose the range of motion in the wrist is when your hand goes this way here.
Okay.
So when you go, you use
I've gone this way.
you have a combination of this radial deviation and the dorsiflexion.
Okay.
When you go this way, then this is the smallest range of motion here.
Gotcha.
You cannot go any further here.
Yeah.
Either you go this way and then let it go more. You can go this way, but you don't mix these two together so that you're going this way here. This just limits the range of motion.
Could that have led to his injury?
Well, from here, you try to use this wrist, then it puts a lot of burden on the wrist.
So, well, it's the right
Right.
hand, but,
So-
so it's going this way, is what it should be
it's like-
doing? I know yours isn't.
This
Yours is going
and
this way.
this here. When
But
you
it
mix
should
this,
go this way,
no, you have to use the pronation, supination good here.
so it doesn't go anyway.
Yeah. So I'm putting
It's
too
all-
much.
When the forearm supinates enough, then you don't have to put much burden in the wrist here.
That makes sense.
Holy smokes.
So
And
when
how
you
many
have
people
good
you
motion
see?
here, let it go around. So
But
It's-
that'll happen naturally too.
it's not just this motion here. You are actually letting it go this way here. When the hand goes a bit higher here, with this you can have supination here. Then it's a lot easier to go here. But when you try to wrist cock early, and then try to bring this, and then also you are dropping this, then naturally you already have uncocking effect here.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. And
I've
then
got it backwards.
and when you use intentional wrist cock early here, you have to use wrist muscles.
Yeah.
But if you throw this and then by introducing the supination of the forearm and then let it go here, then using the momentum, you are nicely going to this position here. You don't have to use the wrist muscles a lot.
That makes sense. So the elbow's going to bend, like the big muscles, the big hinges are going to bend first, and then the smaller hinges are going to support it.
Yeah, yeah,
as it
yeah.
slows down.
So you are starting the backswing motion with the good body action using the legs here.
Yeah.
With that, you throw this, then let it go, and then going to this position. Then you don't have to intentionally use wrist muscles.
Makes so much sense.
But when you try to lift this here, you're using this, and then also on the way down, when you try to use the wrist, then it puts burden on the wrist.
That makes sense.
So
Because I've maxed out the wrist so much that the only way it can go is that way. If I go this way,
And think of the stress on that
Yeah.
dang joint.
and then let's say if you reach the end of range of motion, and then when you try to come down here, the clip is your clip is pretty heavy here, and it's staying behind. Then actually is pushing against the wrist here.
jamming it even more. And then it goes to the elbow. I've had elbow issues too.
When you have problem here, then it also affects the elbow here. You have two bones here. Okay. When you have pain here, then you also have pain here. So when you stabilize the wrist joint here, then it also improves the.
So at the top of the backswing, what position is the wrist actually in, Dr. Kwan? Is it
No, not this way too much. You don't hit against the end of the range of
so it's
motion.
really this way?
So you have nice motion here. Let it go this way here. When the elbow is coming in more in front of your body, then it's a lot easier here. When this goes here, outside, and then you hit the end of range of motion, that puts a lot of burden on the wrist. So when the elbow stays in front of your chest, then because you can use this supination motion here, it becomes a lot easier.
The supination of the forearm.
Yeah. And then also when you have wrist motion, then try to use a bit lighter club.
Okay.
When this is heavy, you have to struggle. You have to fight your club.
Swing weight or actual weight?
The swing weight, more than anything, the swing weight. When the head is too heavy, then what happens is when you have this motion, and then it has inertia, so it wants to keep moving, and when you go against it, then it puts a burden here. So sometimes, actually, using a bit lighter club will also solve a lot of problems because you feel easier. You can really release the wrist.
Driver as well.
When this is heavy, you have to struggle all the time, and then so you tend to drag the club. Particularly junior players, when they tend to pull this and then jump like this, it's essentially dragging. Or those who are going like this is also dragging, because most cases the club is too heavy, they cannot really release it. So all they can do is have to drag it. And one easy way to drag it is this way here.
She made
Or
it to Augusta for chip, putt, and drive, whatever that she qualified down there, but she's all over the place.
Actually, that program is really, really bad because if you look at the junior players who are competing in that drive, chip, and putt competition, their swing patterns are many cases, there's too extreme.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
She can chip and putt the daylights out of it, but she's such
They're
a
using really extreme swing patterns, and at the early age. So the coaches just allow them to maintain that pattern, or the parents allow them to maintain that pattern. That's actually really disservice. If you really care your kids, your junior players, then you have to talk them out of it. But this club is also pretty heavy, so
Yeah, it is.
when you have issues in the wrist, then you need to use a bit lighter
It's an
club.
easy fix.
So here now, in the backswing sequence, the only thing is that delay the club peak angular velocity here by introducing wrist cock a bit late.
Okay.
And then, so here the pelvis goes first, and then thorax, and then shoulders, and then arms here. But the only thing that is out of sequence is this line here, which is the club.
Okay. Is that going
The
slow?
club is going a bit early because you have this
Gotcha.
too much layoff,
Yeah.
and then it gives this uncocking effect.
Yeah.
So that's going a bit early. So if this line crosses the horizontal axis about here, then you have good sequential transition here.
JT, do you feel like you're saving it all the time at the bottom out of curiosity? Is that something you feel?
Yeah, I've never felt like the club was. I felt like the club's always coming out of the top at the same time as everything else. Everything feels like it's all coming out at the same time. So I feel everything you're describing.
So when you introduce wrist cock a bit later here, because the momentum you have a more wrist cock automatically, and then when the upper body moves, the club
The club's still settling.
still shows motion this way, and then it will
Yeah.
and
No, that
have
makes so much sense.
it'll have transition
Faster
at the
too,
last.
JT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His speed's gonna go up, won't it?
And one thing you want to try is use a bit lighter club and see
Yeah.
how it goes.
I'll
Yeah.
look
Then
at
it'll
it
be easier
tomorrow.
to handle the club.
Cool.
So you don't have to put a lot of effort in your wrist.
What
The
the
bouncing peaks, these are reasonable here, all happening pretty much here
Okay.
when the club is aligned along the vertical line. So this is okay.
Okay.
But now, this is the wrist angular velocity. So it shows early uncocking but followed by recocking here, delayed uncocking here.
Okay.
Which is
But,
down here.
but normally, when you have this much delayed uncocking, that from here to impact, this has to rise rapidly here, and this has to actually cross this line, go above here. However, it's below elite man's average. That means even you have this much delayed release, however, your wrist angular velocity is not developing that fast.
He's not releasing it.
Could be because of the weight of the club,
Yeah.
or
The
Fade or a
sequencing.
drop.
issues with your wrist, whatever that is. But I mean, with this much delayed release here,
Okay.
and this has to go higher. But it could be because this is for you, this is too late.
Okay. Yeah.
Then you don't have much time from here to impact, so you cannot generate the wrist angular velocity in time.
Okay.
So while you are having this delayed release generally positive, however, in your case, this may be a bit too late.
Okay.
So you don't have enough time to accelerate this.
Because he's recocked it again.
Recocking, and then, but with recocking, when you have active wrist motion later, then this increases rapidly. It goes above this line, and then this goes more up
Okay.
here. But in your case, this is not reaching even elite man's average maximum here. So your speed is coming from the body rotation, but
Okay.
not really from the wrist motion.
And again, you're pretty confident speeding up his backswing and altering that transition gonna solve all of that.
Cool.
Wow.
So one thing I want to recommend is first speed up the backswing, and then at the same time also use a bit lighter club.
Okay. Cool.
I'm
then-
gonna have to do the same.
Then it'll be a lot easier to handle the club.
Like D0 or?
I think I'll probably keep the swing weight the same, but just lighten the entire thing. So I'll go
Will
with the
that do
lighter
the same
part.
thing?
Try to generally go for a bit lower swing weight,
Okay.
so that you don't have to struggle with the club. There's no reason to fight with your club. I have an interesting episode. When Ben Crane came in, when was it? Maybe about 3 years ago or something. The following week, I had twin sisters. They were like about 15 years old. They were not identical twins, so their body size was different. And then particularly the weaker one was left-handed. But when I looked at their swings, particularly the weaker one, the left-handed golfer, she was dragging the club a lot. So check the club numbers. She was using a lot heavier club than her stronger sister. And then when I was looking at her club numbers, something was not right. Because Ben Crane was in the previous week, and I remember his club numbers. So I went to my office and they pulled out his data. She was actually using heavier club than what Ben Crane was using.
Driver or all through the back?
We tested mainly the driver, but so I asked her, or her dad actually, why she was using club, this heavy, and then the answer was a club fitter. The club fitter gave her that club. But it was so heavy, so she could not release it. So she was basically dragging it all the way.
Have you tried lighter swing weights? Because I have, and I feel like I lose control of the club head. But
I haven't tried them in the right setting. You know what I mean? Like I'm
And then I had a lady, she was a professional player not long ago. And she was using her 3-wood and then hitting the ball, and then I saw she was struggling. the ball was going right. And then, so immediately I noticed that she was not really handling the club that well. So I asked her to remove that extra weight on the head, okay? And even I asked her to choke up the club.
Shorter and lighter.
Yeah. And then the same 3-wood with now no extra weight, and even slightly choked up grip position. She was bombing the ball.
Hitting it farther. Wow.
Yeah, 3-wood. She was hitting, like 230 yards, and then after hitting the ball, she was surprised. She had a lot better direction control. The ball was going farther. So I told her that, you see, without that extra weight on the head, and then even choking up the club, you're actually hitting the ball, a lot farther.
So if he put a heavier grip on there to change the swing weight, do you think the head mass
Heavier
would still be
grip
okay?
won't change that much. So
I mean, it'll move the swing weight,
still
but
is a
not-
matter of the weight on the club head.
But
Or
it's so, you can't adjust those dumb things.
so you have to,
I mean, I'll take the lead tape off of it.
Oh, you got lead tape on it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
so play with that. And then it doesn't have to be too light,
Yeah.
But going a bit lighter head will probably help.
Cool.
Okay. So, but in the downswing, the timings are reasonable here.
Okay.
So it's not a problem. But the only thing is that you should be able to generate a lot more wrist angular velocity here. Then this will go even higher.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's what I see. And then let's go to the way you use the ground. This is the highlight here.
Okay.
So here, the middle one shows the ground reaction force,
Okay.
and the red line is the total force. This arrow here. The blue is the force acting on the trail side.
Okay.
The green is the force acting on the leader side.
Okay.
So at the beginning of the backswing, you have a bit more force on the leader side,
Okay.
which is good.
Okay.
So with this, you can start the backswing actively. And then soon, you will have a more push from the trail side here.
Okay.
And then you have a large force difference here. So the center of pressure stays close to the trail side. And also the total force is slightly inclined toward the target, which is good. And then as you continue this motion, then the force will start inclining toward the target more and more. Like this here. While the force of magnitude decreases. So if you look at this red line here, the unit is body weight.
Okay.
So
lighter.
you are starting from one body weight,
Okay.
and then you have a little bit of push here, and then you are becoming lighter.
Okay.
It's called the unweighting.
Yep.
So you are going into unweighting phase here, and then unweighting this continues to about this here point. It's not really active unweighting, but just
Does that need to be more?
So here's what I'm trying to say here.
Okay. Yeah.
So after this, certainly your unweighting increases rapidly here. That means you have disconnect between this side and this side here.
Okay.
So remember the center of mass reaches the high point about here.
Yep.
So this unweighting is coming from the slowdown of the upward motion. This unweighting is coming from speed up of downward motion. So your body is going slightly upward and then going downward here. In this transition, you have unweighting. However, if you have a continuous motion, you push and then let the body goes up and then also drop it, let it drop, then this unweighting will be continuous here.
Yeah.
Then unweighting peak occurs a bit early here.
Okay.
But you have a bit of a disconnect here.
Okay.
So here you have unweighting, but from here you are starting unweighting again.
Okay.
So two-stage unweighting here.
So I should have just kind of started it.
Yeah, it's
and then caught myself
it's
and then went
continuous.
the other
It's
way.
continuous motion here. So when that happens, then you will have this happening a bit earlier. And then here's one study we are currently planning is the timing of this unweighting peak is correlated to different things. So the earlier this peak is, the higher the caliber speed is, and also in some other aspects.
And in relation to the swing, Dr. Kwan, where is that unweighting happening?
This is
Right there.
the maximum.
So,
Maximum unweighting has to occur at the top of action here, about
And
here,
his is happening where?
a bit
That's
later.
where it is.
No, it's
Oh, you're talking about the
right
max
there.
unweighting?
Yeah, yeah.
So I should have already been unweighting and starting to weight.
So your peak unweighting should occur about here,
But
Yeah.
again,
and
I
then
think the
forces start
dynamics
going
of that
over here.
Rope and
Yeah, for sure.
faster backswing is probably going
Now,
to fix that too.
the good news is if you speed up the backswing, automatically these will connect better.
Yeah.
As I said, when you move the pedal to hit the ball, when you have enough time, then too much time, then you initially quick move here, and then you have to wait. So usually when the backswing is slow, then you have initial quick action here, and then slow motion after that here. But when you have faster backswing, then it's a one-piece backswing, and it's well connected to the downward motion. So then the unweighting becomes more continuous, and the unweighting peak will occur earlier.
And then I'll catch myself sooner and then.
And then for you, it's not difficult to speed up backswing because, as you can see here, at the beginning, you have more force acting on the leader side here. So one prerequisite of a faster backswing is you have to push the ground good with the leader side at the beginning of the backswing. So when you have sort of a trigger motion, with the trigger motion, then when you start actively, then this difference will increase. But since you already have more force acting on the leader side, then you certainly have that motion.
Okay.
So just enhance this a little bit. Then when you have a good active push using the trail side, then this force will also go up a bit higher.
Okay.
When this goes up higher, then you have a better connected unweighting here. So again, the magic of faster backswing.
Okay.
It can have a good results.
So I'm not heavy enough, then not light enough to then put.
No, your forces are large enough here.
Okay.
It goes above
And,
elite man's average maximum. This unweighting is also good.
They could be more efficient.
Yeah, in terms of the magnitude of unweighting, this is good.
Okay.
However, the timing can be a bit earlier.
Okay.
You can better connect the unweighting here. Then again, the motion becomes a lot more rhythmic. So you have an initial leader side push, then trail side push, and then leader side push here.
Okay.
Dr. Kwan, will that, I guess in theory, would that make his release pattern more consistent, which would develop a better timing overall in his swing? Where
Because
he's
you
not fighting
because
his
you have
club
to
face?
feel the effect of the momentum in the backswing here. When you have faster motion and then throw this, that the momentum will bring this to enough backswing motion here, and then from there when you come down, you don't have the intention to do a lot of things.
Okay.
So you have a really good connection here. So you have to practice this and then try to increase the backswing speed as much as possible
Okay.
to the level you feel a little bit uncomfortable in the beginning.
Yeah. Don't feel reckless.
But that has to come.
That's a good
That has to come from active initial
out of
motion.
control,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So let's practice the two-step string drills a little bit, and with that you will be able to develop good initial motion, okay? More active motion. But you actually the magnitude of unweighting here and then maximum force, these are good.
Okay.
And then here the main push is coming from the leader side here. Now the lower graph here, this shows the moment arm, the lever arm here. Now this basically means the separation between the center of mass and this arrow here, this gap here,
Okay.
is the moment arm. Imagine you will use a wrench here, try to rotate something. Then the moment time is the distance from the center of rotation to your hand. This is the moment time.
Okay.
And
So
then
if you had a longer wrench, it's easier to.
it's easier to rotate, right? So when you multiply the length of the moment time and the force and magnitude, that gives the torque you generate.
Okay.
So even though at this point you are going through this unweighting here, so your force is smaller than the body weight because you have this long moment arm.
Got a
So
huge moment.
so we're looking at the red dot and then that middle force line.
Yeah, this one here, this distance here.
And
That's
that's
the
indicative of more speed too, right? So he's got the potential to really get some more speed.
And then so you have a long moment time here, and then when you multiply this and the force, then this is a torque. You are generating a good amount of torque here. So from the top of action to this is when on the way down when the lead arm is paired to the ground. if you look at the average torque, it's similar to elite man's average maximum. This is elite man's average maximum torque. That means that the actual average torque should be a lot lower than this for most people.
Okay.
But you are generating average torque close to this level here. So you have a good amount of torque generated. That's what gives you that 114, close to 115 speed.
But wouldn't you say there's a lot more potential
You have
there?
more.
Okay.
You have more potential.
I used to hit it a lot harder, and I've slowed down in the past 4 or 5 years, and it
But
dropped
JT,
me
I
nuts.
guarantee you that's because you're fighting this thing at the top of your backswing.
Because I'm getting old and fat,
Wow,
too.
come
you
on,
see?
come on.
Your swing, to me, your swing looked somewhat easy. You were not hitting that hard,
Yeah.
but you had a good speed. So I was a bit surprised.
It's controlled. Like, I can control the 114. I'd like to cruise and control it. It's like, if I get the 118
I was gonna say
cruising,
18
then
to
I would
20.
be dangerous.
Yeah. So here the amount of torque you generate in the frontal plane by using the ground is pretty good here.
Okay.
And the force magnitude, this goes to like a 1.8 times your body weight, which is good. I don't want this to be too large.
Okay.
If this goes above 2 times the body weight, then you have a lot of unweighting at impact. That has a detrimental effect.
And Dr. Klon, Eddie Hernandez runs around bragging that his body weight is 2.2 times, his force is 2.2 times.
But
his
because
body
he's a long driver,
Yeah.
so long driver is a bit different.
Okay.
They use a longer club, and then they have to generate, and also they have to have a somewhat unweighting here at impact to protect their knees.
Yeah, he's off the
Because
ground.
their motion is too rigorous. If the left foot is staying on the ground firmly, then it puts a lot of burden on the knee joint. You can twist the knee joint. So they have to move the foot. For that, they have to push earlier. And then by unweighting, you can easily move the foot. Like
I don't want to do that.
in Atlanta, I don't know whether you have chance to enjoy downhill skiing, but in downhill skiing, you do edging to control the speed and direction. When you push the snow up hard and then create this unweighting, during the unweighting, you can quickly move the
Yeah,
ski.
done that.
But when there's a lot of force acting between the ski and the snow, try to move this, you fall. So only when you have good unweighting that you can easily move the ski. So, when you have to push hard and then move the foot, then you have to unload after that. So that's why long drivers tend to push hard here and then have a lot of unweighting here. But regular golf swing, if this goes too much, then you have unweighting and then the torque acts actually in the opposite direction. The body is rotating this way, but the torque is acting in the opposite direction.
Like
But
Justin Thomas.
but for the moment, the way you interact with the ground, this is good. So I think for you, the only thing you really need to work on is speed up the back swing,
Okay.
and then introduce the wrist cock a bit late.
Okay.
Okay? So by throwing this in the away direction and then let it go around.